So we have a nice audience already, and I see we have a couple of folks attending. Good morning, good evening, depending on which time zone you're at. My name is Reinhard von Hennigs, and I'm the chairman of the Bridge Alliance. And welcome to our today's 2020 Global Bridge Alliance Summit. I see attendees are kicking in, and I think we are probably getting close to 100 if we include all speakers all in together. Numbers are growing up. Shout out to a couple of my friends locally here in Charlotte. I see a couple of names kicking in. And at this time, I can proudly report that we have at least 3 continents on this call, which is exciting. It's 9:01 our time. Folks are still dialing in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And in order to stay halfway on schedule and also in order to know halfway what it is we are doing, let me go over a very few rules and a very few thoughts, as in what's happening today, where are we, and how do we get it all together. This is, first of all, our 14th annual Bridge Alliance meeting. 14 events ago, this Bridge Alliance was created, and now 14 events later, the 14th annual meeting. It is certainly time to pat yourself on the shoulder and to say it is amazing. After our past events happened in Europe, Asia, and America, the 2020 event was scheduled for Dubai. And as we all know, Dubai failed a bit for reasons unrelated to Dubai, but due to Corona, it is a Zoom meeting today. Let me also take a moment to thank my fellow Bridge Alliance directors and welcome you also on behalf of Julian Dawson, Ali Alboridi, and Guillermo Jimenez. We as a Bridge Alliance are an association, an international network of law firms who provide advice in multiple jurisdictions. And our goal today is to share with you a bit about our international excitement, how we see globalization works, where do we see issues, and where do we see potential for support. Those of you who follow me on different social medias have seen that exactly a year ago at our annual conference, we launched our book, The Family Protocol. And today's conference is a logical continuation of the Family Protocol, which covers international aspects of law. And it also covers international aspects of how high net worth individuals, how globally operating families who have assets in one part of the world would like to protect the assets in the other part of the world, or how in a global environment, one country's strategy, for example, a trust, does not make necessarily sense in another country. For example, the Waqf in the Arabian world, in the Sharia law, or the Stiftung in the European setting. So today's topic is not only about how to protect your wealth, but also how do you make smart moves to relocate family members? How do you make a smart move to invest in other countries? Our meeting today follows almost the good old principle of Bridge Alliance is the empire which never sleeps, or where the sun never settles. We have with us presenters from China, and at their time clock, it is now 9 o'clock in the morning. We also have many participants from China dialing in. Welcome to China. We do intend that the first immediate session where Ms. Shaw and Mr. Li will present about aspects in Chinese law will be done only in the Mandarin language, and there will be no translation possible. However, we do intend to kick in at 9:35 with a Q&A session, which could be done in English as well. So if you, dear audience, dear friends, dear participants, have questions in English, please raise them because we can also address that. After we are done on that part, we will continue to go to Saudi Arabia, where Dr. Ali Alboridi will speak about the family protocol in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. From there, we will reach over to Europe shout out to Dr. Stefan Lode, who will then talk about the golden visa and the opportunities for international investors to diversify their holdings with an opportunity to gain a legal residence in the European Union. From there on, we'll push it over to the United States, where I will personally talk about the EB5 opportunities, the investment opportunities, how to maintain, how to create a legal status here. And the final speaker is out in Vancouver, where I make a shout out to Julian Dawson, who will then talk about Canadian opportunities. With that said, dear friends and participants, you see that there is a chat function available. Please feel free to use a chat function as much as you want, be it to entertain yourself or be it to entertain others. However, if you have any questions on the Q&A side, if you want us as speakers to give you any answers, please do not do it in the chat, as we will not monitor it. We will monitor the Q&A session. So if you do have a question, please type it in the Q&A section. And for those who have not the opportunity to have worked with Zoom a lot, this is a little bubble under the screen, which is indicated with Q&A. Please put your questions in there. This webinar is being recorded. The 2020 Global Bridge Alliance Wealth Protection Summit is being recorded. If you do not agree with the recording, please exit. Otherwise, we take your continuation here as your consent to being recorded. There will be breaks in between, and I am very excited that we have a two-time Emmy Award winner at one of our breaks. So for those who enjoy that kind of entertaining, please be with us during the break. And other than that, no event is possible without great help and great helpers. And I would like to make a big shout out to Robert Spivey, who is resident here in our Charlotte office, who pushed this webinar forward. Robert, without you, this would have not happened today. Thank you, Robert, for making it work. With that said, it is almost time to get started. We wanted to get started at 10 past the hour. We are beating ourselves a little bit. In order to be properly and to be also recognizing the time differences, we are getting more and more folks from China dialing in. Welcome again to our friends and that part of the world. I would like to take now the opportunity to turn the microphone over to Li Jing and to give you a chance to introduce our speaker.
Okay, if some participants will ask some questions, I will do the translator.
Very good. Li, would you like to introduce Ms. Shah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lei Jing. I come from CLG, Capital Equity Legal Group. We are a big group, legal group in China. And today, it's first time we will do this Global Wealth Strategy Summit with our partner from different countries. We are very happy. And so today, my colleague, lawyer Zhu Shuangxia, will do introduction about Chinese strategy succession in China, and she's a very professional in this field. Okay, that's our introduction, and welcome my colleagues to the introduction.
我自己的不行，我改过了。
It's okay.
好，各位好。好，大家好，我来分享一下中国的家族财富传承。那么我本人是金恒律师事务所的合伙人。我们刚才我的同事金磊先生已经介绍过了。我就介绍一下我们的这个财富传承业务。我们的财富传承业务是 主要是中国的高净值客户提供这个传承的法律支持。那么我们还跟一些大学合作在这个文化的传承上也是结合进行服务。所以我们是不单是法律的支持，还有文化的支持。Next page。没有 ，Next page。我今天讲的第一部分是中国家族财富传承的一个背景的介绍。这个背景的介绍的话，包括了我们现在中国家族财富传承的一个总体的量和现在的一个要求，就是这些富豪的要求。Next page。那么中国现在个人财富的总量还是很大的，在前面的10年的话，基本上中国的个人财富规模实现了每年约20%的增长。那么这2年稍微的增长趋于稳定，是12%左右。那么从总量来说的话，到2021年总量将达到220万亿。那么这个中国的这些个人可投资的金融资产的量还是很大的就是估算是2021年可以达到221万亿。Next page。那么这个总量可以达到220万亿。那么这些财富就是掌握在哪些人手中？那么中国的这些财富的话，按1000万人民币的可投资资产来分析，到2018年总量可以达到197万人可投资资产超过1亿人民币的也是有将近0.21。所以而且这些财富当中企业家占到了80%。那么这些企业家80%里面，大部分来自于家族企业。所以其实这些总量当中财富最多的是家族企业。Next page。Next。因为有这么大的这个财富所以现在中国的高净值人群对财富传承有了很大的一个需求。我们来看这些高净值人士他的财富的来源70%到80%之间来源于这个创办公司和投资获利。那么他们当中的这个60%左右，60%以上的人是40岁到60岁之间。那么这个年龄段的人，他的这个需求就是需要进行传承不光是他财富的传承，还有他公司的这个传承。Next page。那么中国投资者就是以前是追求财富的快速增长，那么现在财富已经积累到这样的一个程度，而且年龄已经到了就是65、60岁左右，所以他的需求逐渐的从积累财富向这个财富的保值和有序传承进行转变。 所以说中国这些高净值人群，他们对财富传承的多样化有了更多的这个需求。Next page。那么我们第二部分来看一下这个家族财富传承在中国主要有哪些困境？这些困境的话，主要来源于我们总结的一些分享。这些分享不一定是全部的这个分享，只是总结了一些典型的最常遇到的一些分享。比如说一些意外的比如说今年的这个新冠疫情。那么它是一个特殊的这个分享，对财富也是有一定的影响的。那么这里我们就不讲了，我们只讲经常出现的这个分享，那是5大类分享。第一类分享就是婚姻的分享，婚姻的分享后面会讲到来源于企业家1代和2代都有可能。第二类分享就是法定继承的一个分享。那么第3类分享是一个债务的分享，债务的分享主要是一些经营性的债务。第三个分享的是刑事分享，因为中国的企业家会面临着很多刑事的指控，后面会讲到。第5个就是经常企业家会碰到的，就是一个税务的分享。Next。那么我们第一个分享，我们来看一下这个婚姻的这个分享。婚姻的分享的话，主要是企业家自身的一个分享和企业家子女的这个分享。在我们统计过这个特别是上市企业企业家婚姻出现破裂也是这个出现的比例也是比较大的。那么有一些没有上市的企业也是有一些典型的一些婚姻分享。Next， 我们来看一个例子。我们来看一个例子，就是最近就是在中国的这个新闻当中经常会出现的一个离婚案件，就是一个网络企业俞和李国庆的这个离婚案件。那么他们这个离婚案件持续的时间已经比较长了。这个案子最终他们其实离婚的目的是为了争夺这个企业的控制权所以我们也在研究如果是这个夫妻双方成立一家公司那么他们的风险是不是会比其他公司分享更加大一旦他们感情出现问题以后是不是比就是不是夫妻公司的这个争夺更加激烈问题更加复杂。所以说这个婚姻分享的话不单是夫妻公司，那么一方是作为公司股东的公司分享也是比较大的最典型的还有一些上市企业，比如说是土豆网上市的过程当中也是因为婚姻的分享导致了上市进程的减缓。Next。那么还有是法定继承的风险。那么根据这个中国的这个继承法的规定这一次的民法典也是对这个继承人第一顺序和第二顺序的继承人是没有修改的，跟原来的继承法是一样的。如果说没有订立遗嘱的话会发生这个继承有可能。中国有一个特殊就是父母也是第一顺位继承人父母作为第一顺序继承人的时候 那么有可能会发生就是财产就是分散的这个分享，因为如果说先于自己的父母去世的话，这个财产有可能就是父母可以继承，那么父母再去世的话，那么父母的其他子女就是这位企业家的兄弟姐妹都可以继承，这样的话，这个财产就会发生这个分散的可能。Next。Next， 第3个就是债务的分享。那么中国民营企业家普遍是缺乏一个公司独立的意识会发生很多这个比如说夫妻公司还有就是股东和管理人会存在家庭关系，导致公司所有的所有权跟经营权不分。所以就是会面临一些如果有一些债务分享的话，有可能会影响到家庭的财产。那么我在这个案例当中，就是一个就是中国目前来说承担夫妻共同债务金额最大的一个案例。那么这个案例基本上的情况在这个PPT 当中都有显示。当时实际控制人李明是想把这个公司上市，但是他签了一个对赌协议对赌协议签了以后，这个公司并没有上市成功，他本人也去世了。后来这个投资者就起诉了他的妻子，要求承担这个债务。后来法院判决这个妻子要承担2点多个亿的这个债务，这个就是典型的夫妻共同债务的分享。Next。那么我们可以看，就是在这一次的民法典当中这个夫妻共同债务在我们民法典的1046条当中有规定，就是夫妻共同债务的话，在最下面一点就是，如果说用于共同生产经营的，也是可以认定为是夫妻共同债务。那这样的话，这个对家庭的分享是比较大的。Next。第4个分享就是形式分享。形式分享的话就是我们的刑法当中第2编第3章是破坏社会主义市场经济秩序罪其中一共有112个罪名而且家族企业在开办日常经营和商业交易、融资以及企业关闭等阶段都面临着相应的刑事法律分享。那么我们的这个金恒律师事务所也是就是办理了很多我们企业家涉嫌刑事犯罪的案件。那么在这些案件当中也有很多企业家因为触犯了刑律因为被追究刑事责任，那么他企业的资产家庭的资产全部被这个没收全部被这个就是司法机关查扣这个分享是很大的。第5个分享就是税收的分享。Next。那么税收的分享就是主要看这个财富的这个类型如果是股权转让股权转让会涉及到从中国的税来说会涉及到营业税、个人所得税 印花税等。那么房地产继承的话，会涉及到增值税、个人所得税、契税、印花税、土地增值税等等。那么现金遗产是这个不征税还有就是直系亲属之间的继承是有税收优惠政策，有的是可以免征税可以免征税那么现在中国是没有开征这个遗产税的。Next。那么我们来看一下，这个财富传承的工具在中国的这个适用。Next。财富传承的工具有很多我只是列举了就是我们这个家族财富传承当中经常用到的一些工具，而且是比较典型的工具。因为是我们律师的这个身份，我们律师的身份的话，我们经常用到的这个工具就是遗嘱和协议。那么当然保险和信托也是要看这个客户的这个需求做一定的这个配备。Next。那我们来看一下这个遗嘱遗嘱是目前中国使用最广泛的这个家庭财富继承的这个工具。那么遗嘱的形式包括这个公证、自书、代书、录音和口头遗嘱。那么这一次的民法典是增加了一个录像遗嘱和打印遗嘱。在这次的民法典当中，还有就是公证的遗嘱不再具有优先的这个效力，还有很重要的一个点是增加了遗产管理人制度。Next。Next。遗产管理人制度是规定在民法典第4章这个遗产的处理当中遗产管理人的规定对未来中国的家族财富传承是意义重大的。因为在以前的这个继承法当中只有这个遗嘱的执行人那么也是只有在遗嘱当中指定有执行人的时候才会有执行人出现。那么这一次民法典规定的遗产管理人即使说没有遗嘱那么所有的法定继承人可以推选这个遗产管理人，它是一个必然出现的一个就是制度。所以它主要是职责是第一个就是如果说这个遗产高额且状况复杂的话，需要专人进行打理那么这个遗产管理人他就有优势，而且它可以解决从继承开始到遗产被继承人接管期间的这个遗产管理问题。特别是企业家突然如果去世的话，那么他企业要继续经营，这个期间如果没有人来打理来接管的话，那么企业有可能陷入这个混乱。还有可以防止需要立即接管或者处理的遗产面临这个毁损，特别是一些这个艺术品，比如说字画的话，没有立即接管有可能会出现毁损。还有可以减少继承人之间在遗产分配之前的纠纷，也可以提高债务偿还的这个效率。Next。Next。 还有就是财富传承工具用的比较多的就是用的多的是保险的工具啊。对，用的比较多的是保险的工具。那么保险的工具是对就是普通人财富不是特别多的人啊，保险是可以起到很好的作用。它除了定向传承啊，不受继承规则影响，节税功能，还有隔离债务和私密性的这个功能。那么第三个工具就是我们的协议啊，协议的话，在我自己处理的案子当中啊，应该是用的最多的啊，它可以减少婚姻对家族企业的一个消极影响。比如说我前面说到，我们企业家啊是有这个婚姻的风险，那么假如说啊签订这个婚前的财产协议啊，婚内的这个财产协议。夫妻之间企业股权的这个协议，还有一些赠与协议，那么可以很好的规避这个部分的这个风险。Next。那么我们在这一次的这个民法典当中对这一块也是有修改的原来的这个婚姻法当中原来的婚姻法当中是规定是夫妻双方可以约定这个婚姻协议。那么在这样的情况下，婚前协议是没有法律地位的。所以这一次民法典在第1065条规定了，是男女双方可以约定。那么男女双方是包括没有结婚之前，所以现在这个婚前协议也是有法律地位的。Next。那么我们的婚前协议和婚内协议应该怎么约定？形式上的话，这个应该是书面的这个约定的内容包括了分别财产制一般共同制和限定共同制。Next。第四个就是信托信托各位专家都很熟悉。那么在中国也是作为一个财富传承的工具，因为我们在01年的时候，中国是有信托法的。Next。信托的功能大家也很清楚，我这里就不说了。Next。主要讲一下一个典型的一个财富传承的案例，就是鲁冠球的这个三农福祉基金。它虽然叫基金，其实是一个慈善信托的一个架构。他们把这个3家上市公司的股权都放进了一个慈善信托，这个就非常的典型。Next。这个不讲了。Next。这个信托的登记的话，这个有统一遗嘱信托我讲一下。这一次这个民法典规定了这个就是自然人可以依法设立遗嘱信托。那么所以这个遗嘱信托未来在中国会广泛的会用到。但是这个财产的话，因为涉及到股权问题，有可能因为这个转让登记这个原因不大会放到这个遗嘱信托里面那么其他财产可以放在这个遗嘱信托里。好 谢谢大家，我这个时间刚好差不多我的分享就到这里希望大家有问题可以提问。
Okay, thank you, Lawyer Zhu. And if anyone have any question about family wealthy and succession in China, you can ask.
有吗？
还没有看到。If no one asks questions, maybe we can skip and next speakers can start.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. I'm being told that what I said right now is was muted. So, Xie for the presentation.
Okay.
It was very nice to listen to the details of the intricate family protocol in China. And if you have any questions later on, I'm pretty sure we can arrange for questions being communicated in English and being answered in English. So it is now a good way to say Xie, Ms. Shah, and move on from the far east to the Middle East. Dr. Ali Al-Baridi, welcome to our presentation today. I also welcome you as a fellow member of the Board of Directors of the Bridge Alliance, and I'm very happy that you are able to join us today. For those who don't know Ali, Dr. Al-Baridi got a doctorate degree from the Institute of Higher Judges and also had his scope of practice to advise international companies between the Middle East, China, inbound, outbound from China to the Middle East, European as well as United States. And whenever I think of Ali, I think of the expert in the region, and I'm very honored to have you here on board. Ali, welcome to this presentation. Do you have a PowerPoint which you would like to share? Then we can arrange for screen sharing for you. Otherwise, the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I am glad and honored to participate in this international event, which we can exchange ideas and learn from each other. I will focus in my expertise in family protocol in Saudi Arabia. Arab from the beginning of history, as they are located in the middle of the globe, used to have trading activity. And we see the Silk Road from our friends in China come through from Middle East to our friends in the West, Europe mainly, before USA was discovered. Family, in Saudi culture and in Arab culture is very important. And it is usually to be wide and big families, not what they call it a nuclear family. It is, we consider all relatives, even if they are, far, we consider them part of the family. So this gives family business more importance because of the culture. That's why usually businessmen prefer to work in the family and the business stay in the family. And the Saudi families, you know, well known. We have bin Mahfouz, Al-Rajihi, Abdul Latif Jamil, Al-Mahedib, and a lot other, you know, names became well known in the world through their contribution and their wealth around the world. Family business constitute around more than 50% of non-oil and non-government economy, and the majority of them under limited liability companies. So there is we will look at it from this way, as family and as a company. You know, always there is concentration of the wealth in Saudi family with the father. Usually, you know, it is the male members of the family who start the business, either father or the older or the senior brother. So this culture of you know, used to have male culture to control the business for the family. Now with the new vision of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz, start to establish the female role, and we see many female taking high leadership in the private sector and even in the government. So seniority is very important in the family. The tradition still in Saudi Arabia is very important, and there is pride of the family name, so they use it in their companies and they emphasize on it. Also, we can see in family business there is speed in decision and more, you know, risk taking because there is confidence between the family member, and he know that if he take decision, the other will support him. If we, you know, look at corporate governance challenge in Saudi Arabia, the corporate governance itself is new in Saudi Arabia. Yes, in the last decade, there is a lot of papers and studies and conferences about it, but you know, still it is new, and for my opinion, there is not a lot of companies adopting it. So that's why still the experience in this field is not very deep. So it is need more focus and more, you know, there is centers for it, but still this important part of business still not addressed fully in Saudi Arabia. The awareness itself is not as it should be about the importance of this. So we see just today, you know, I have consultation about one family. It's constitute of brothers, and they are working for tens of years, and there is no registration even for ownership. So there is real estate. It is for the three brothers, but it is registered under one of them because of the trust. Then he died. So it's now very hard to solve this because there is no documentation. There is no, you know, it is to prove that other two brothers' ownership in this real estate. So government took, you know, measures took decisions and make you know, laws to help in establishing family business and put it in the right track, and to eliminate and to reduce the possibility of conflict between the family, because this will be double, you know, lose when there is conflict between the family, losing of wealth and losing of, you know, of the relative. So that's why it's needed full attention. You know, laws in Saudi Arabia based in Sharia, and Sharia is part of Saudi constitution. Sharia has general rules and basic rules. It can be, you know, driven from it can, you know, the principle of justice, the principle of truth, the principle also of documentation. It is well mentioned in Quran and in Sunnah, the Prophet saying, peace be upon him, to emphasize in writing and making every, you know, transaction, every important transaction in writing. If it is can, you know, the Arab when Islam started was not the writing nation, but in Quran it is ordered to make important things by writing. If there is nobody know how to write, so should be two witnesses in it. So the values of contains values of justice, respect, honesty, cooperation, solidarity between family is there. So it can be good start for family to build on it. Sharia also intervene on the way of practice. So we all know about riba, which is mean loan with interest, and alcohol is prohibited. Pork, such, you know, activity, it is prohibited by Sharia, and this many, you know, the majority of businesses in Saudi Arabia observe these values and didn't conduct business in such activity, which is not encouraged by Sharia. There is also support between family member. It is in Sharia, it is obligation. It is obligating that the narrative supports each other. So father to support his son, it is obligatory, even if he is old.
So the thought was that you would then read the questions to Ali.
Sorry? Sorry?
Ali, sorry for that. I just mentioned your name because we are getting a couple of questions in, but continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, okay, it's okay. Also, again, seniority in family, it is ordered by, by Sharia to respect father and mother and the old, brothers and sisters. So this is important and affect the culture and how things is dealt with in the family. Also, the basics of inheritance. This is very important because this is how to distribute the wealth. So it is in Sharia very defined. It is not up to the person to say whether he likes somebody or not like it. No, there is a certain rule and how to divide the wealth after one of family member pass away. Only the person has control on only 30% of his wealth. He can make will after he die. Before he die, he make will, so it will be obligated to execute after he die. But he can't make will for more than 30%, and this will shouldn't be to one of his inheritance, should be to somebody else. So will, donation, all things of this can use to make, can use in making the family protocol. So you can use the wealth, the will. You can make a donation as long as you are live, but if it is after death, it will be will. So it will be only limited to 30%. But donation, you can donate all your money while you are alive. This is your money. But after death, it will be distributed according to Sharia, 70% to inheriting. If there is will, you have and up to 30%, and the other go to inheritor also again. A very important also way of making, to regulate the family is to make waqf, endowment. That means you designate particular, real estate or property and make it waqf or endowment. That means nobody can sell it. So it will continue, only can utilize, and its profit can be distributed as you wish, as the one who make it wish. So waqf is very important tools to use to organize the wealth within the family. Based on this, Saudi Arabia make laws also can be substance for family protocol, which is first, the base of it, company's law. So organizing the family wealth of company, very important because company can outlive the one who established it and the shareholder in it. So very important to utilize this, and I have to notice that still the individual establishment or sole ownership for the business still widespread practice, but government and all legal experts is advising to have it in the form of company. Also, the government make family companies governance guidelines starting to 2014. So the family can be use these guidelines to organize themselves, but this guidelines is not obligatory. It is just guidelines if the family want to take from them to ease reference, you know. There is also corporate governance regulations for joint stock company, so that's why it is more advisable to take the legal form of joint stock company, because it is easier to transfer. You know, the majority of problem is how to transfer the wealth, and if there is conflict on how to run the company, how to solve this conflict. So as usual, it is emphasized and it is advisable to separate between ownership and management to make the company run more professionally and make it established for second and third generation. There is also National Center for Family Entities. So it is like, you know, a specialized center to help families and making awareness about all matters, helping in establishing the governments for the company. Also, there is regulation for family fund. This is, you know, you can make like fund for the family. So this is a separate entity can utilize it to mitigate any risk and have another source of wealth for the company. Still, you know, finally, still there is a lot of work should be done to enforce this regulation and make it not only for choice, but to obligate it to the families and for their businesses. And this, I think, very important to safeguard the wealth of the companies. This is in a nutshell what I want to speak about, and I am, you know, happy to have any question in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali, for the insight into Sharia and Waqf, which I honestly have to admit, before you and I talked about the Waqf, I never heard of the concept of the Waqf, which is loosely translated to a Stiftung in Liechtenstein or whatever other countries use for similar concepts. I do see that we have Julian Dawson on the screen as well, and Julian will be moderating the Q&A for Ali. Julian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Ali, we received a couple of questions during your discussion. The first question is, may we have a brief on Saudi Arabian inheritance law and some insights into that, like precedents about siblings or couples?
Yes, thank you. You know, it is as usual in Sharia, very simple and very, you know, straightforward. So it is divided the inheritance and the wealth according to the how close the person to the one who is passed away. So the son, you know, and the sons and daughters is very near for him, and also father and mother. Why son and daughter? Because it is usually maybe more need after he died. So if we have somebody, to give you an example of father and mother is there, and son and daughter, the one son and daughter and one father and mother, it will divide it like this. The mother will take 1/6 of the inheritance, and the father will take the other 1/6. So it will be 1/3 go to father and the mother divided between them. The rest of it, if there is a wife or husband, they will take, in case of husband, 1/4, because he is one who is spent. This is the idea. Always the female not need to spend anything. The male who will spend. So if there is a wife, it will take 1/8. So her son has to spend on her. Even if he'll take 1/8, it will take it for herself. No need to spend on herself. So her son who should spend. So if there is husband, he'll take 1/4. So always, in majority of cases, in the same narrative, in the same degree of the closeness of the pass away one, it will be usually the male will take twice what the female took. So in son and daughter, the son will take twice what the daughter have. Then we go to, if these people not there, I mean the near son, father, mother, so we will go to brothers and sister after that. But if this people is there, so there is no brother and sister can take from inheritance. This is initial and very fast. It is depend on how close of the, and it is organized by Sharia. So nobody can change or alter. Everybody has its share and knowing it from beginning. So there is no way of conflict or such things.
Thank you, Ali. A second question from the audience is, we would like to clarify about wills, and to what extent may the will be made. Is that all statutory, or could it be something more flexible? And I take the question as whether the form of the will is limited by statute, or whether or not there is a certain amount of discretion that may be employed in fashioning wills.
For the will, first of all, it should be while you are healthy, not expecting death, I mean imminent death. Somebody who is sentenced to death, he can't make will, because the idea Sharia wants somebody to make his will in very balanced way. So if he we call it in Sharia like cancer in its late stage, it's very likely it will affect the life and end the life of the one with this cancer in its final stages. So first of all, you have to be healthy, so to make this will. If you make it at the last last days of your life, so this is can be unless the inheritors allowed, because your money now became under the inheritors. So if they allowed, so it is can be done. Will also the other thing should be for this is the basic, not for inheritor. So you give will to any other, even if it's far person. You can give it to anybody, or for any reason you want, like charity, any type. So this is the only limitation. Yes, anything prohibited by Sharia, you can't make will for it. If anybody making will for bad things to be done, no, it is prohibited by Sharia. And always Sharia and its rules always supersede any action for others. This is also in Sharia. So the person is not fully free to make whatever he wants. There is guidelines, but guidelines is very limited, because it is go to certain things. So this is in nutshell how to make, the format. There is no format for will. Any format can done. The most important that expressing, it is clear to express your will. So if there is clear express of the will, it will be okay.
And Ali, if I may jump in, Julian, the way how I read the question is you're in many countries stuck by the law if the person who's dying does not make their own decision. So could somebody override Sharia law as in coming to a different allocation of assets? Or would Sharia law be the overbinding part that the freedom of contractual expression, how you want your estate to be developed, is overridden by Sharia?
Yes, overwritten in certain circumstances. To because when you have certain effects like the fairness of death or the atmosphere of death, this will affect your decision. So Sharia always, and it is from Prophet saying that you have to make your will now. In Sharia, and Prophet Muhammad be upon him said, everybody has anything worth, he has make his will, not delay it more than 3 days. So make your wills and write it, put it in your head before you sleep. This is the idea, to encourage somebody to state his wills in balance and in normal, and in full thinking and in full mind.
Great, thank you, Ali. There was one more question, and I'll just read it how it was presented. Some Saudi family failed to stay in the market after the lift of the founders, and the question is, why is that?
Yeah, there is multiple of reasons. First of all, the old, regulations, because it is make condition. Every decision had to be by agreement of all parties. This is very hard. So these regulations make the company can't work after the father or big brother die. So this is now start the regulation to make it by majority. Everything has to be agreement of all. There is no agreement, so there is no decision. This is one. The other thing, the concentration of power in one person, and the others will maybe he didn't train his relatives and other members of the family to take him place. And this is a culture also there. It is culture, and we have to admit it. Everyone wants to rule the company and his to stay in full control until even if more than 100 years. We seldom to see father give it to sons and retire in 60 or 70. I know many of my clients, they are over 80s and still sign every checks. He don't give anybody any authority. So that's why I make them, there is no train for the second generation. So when he die, it will be natural, if there is no miracle, that it will fall, because the authority will go to the sons and daughters who are not trained. So this will end the company.
Thank you, Ali. Those are the questions that came from the audience during the Q&A session, and I think we are on time as it relates to our schedule.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali.
Ali, thank you very much. Shukran for joining us today, and it was an insightful part to learn more about Sharia law. Always appreciated. And again, the same reminder goes to all participants. Welcome those who dialed in later. I see a couple of friendly names, friends, long-term acquaintances who popped in, so thank you for doing that. If you have any questions, either to the Chinese presenters or to the presenters from Saudi Arabia, Ali Al-Baridi, please send me an email, send a chat, and we can even forward this after this event today is over. Also, as a little reminder right now, and as a little spoiler alert, we, which is the Bridge Alliance, published this book about the family protocol about a year ago, and the second edition is ready. So a good part of Ali's presentation is printed in the family protocol book. The second edition, there are only very few left of the first edition. The second edition, which has a couple of countries added, including the participation from CELG from China, so there's a new China section in, will be ready for distribution after this event. So if you would like to read up something, let me know and we can organize to get a copy of the family protocol book over to you. We are doing good in time. We are actually rather unusual for an event a little bit ahead of schedule. We had intended to give a little break to have everybody a chance to stretch and to do whatever nature calls to do. However, in the meantime, if you don't have anything else to do, join us and listen in and watch the story of the Bridge Alliance over the past 14 years. Bridge Alliance was founded pretty much 14 years ago, and you will for sure enjoy a couple of the pictures and images of the past 14 years of the Bridge Alliance. Robert, if you can activate the slideshow for the break. And other than that, please be back in 10 minutes so we can then start. Next speaker is Dr. Stefan Lode of the law firm of Rückel and Kollegen. Stay tuned for an insight in the German world, but not only the German world, because Stefan will talk about the golden visa and the opportunities for foreign investors to use the golden visa as an entry door to the European Union. So stay tuned. In 10 minutes, the break is over and we'll be back. See you soon. Stefan was said he's present.
Reinhard? Reinhard? Reinhard, hörst du mich?
Ich kann dich hören, aber nicht sehen. Und alles, was du gerade sagst, hören alle anderen auch.
Das kann ja ruhig jeder hören, das ist doch okay. Ich muss gucken, wie ich die Präsentation dann teile. Dann teile ich meinen Bildschirm, oder?
Die Screensharing-Option. Und die Screensharing-Option ist hier eingereicht und dann wird dein Bild. So, welcome almost back, everybody. We are now transitioning over to give Dr. Stefan Lode of Rückle & Kollegen, resident of the Düsseldorf office on the Rhine River in Germany, an opportunity to present. So before I do the further introduction, which I will do in a moment, let's make sure the technology is ready. Stefan, siehst du den Screenshare?
Ja.
Ja. Dann klick doch mal drauf, bitte.
Bin ich.
Dass auch alle deinen Screen sehen können.
Ich finde es nicht, Reinhard.
We are viewing now Stefan Lode's screen. Perfect.
Super.
It looks like you are in control, Stefan.
Looks pretty good.
Great. So while everybody is hopefully coming back from the little break, I hope you enjoyed the little entertainment of the past 10 minutes, which brought you to 14 years of history of the Bridge Alliance. And you saw that the Alliance meeting is a live meeting where smart lawyers, just like Stefan Lode, is presenting about topics relevant to you as global business folks, as global business investors, so that everybody has a chance to know what's happening next. It's my great honor and pleasure to introduce Stefan Lode. Stefan is an attorney admitted to the bar in Düsseldorf after doing practical training in Atlanta, Georgia. He went to go into private practice to be the CEO of a German subsidiary in Austria, took an interest in media and publication out of that, and is now the partner and the managing partner for Rückle & Kollegen in the Düsseldorf office. Stefan got his PhD from the University of Münster, and today's presentation is about the opportunity to get into Europe, the European Union, that is, with a little tiny side note to the friends who would like to go to England, no longer part of the European Union. So it's a story how you can obtain the so-called golden visa. Stefan, if I forgot something to share about your resume, feel free to add it up. But other than that, Stefan, the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Reinhard. Well, what you forgot is how we know, or why we know. We worked for one law firm when we were much younger.
We had hairs, right?
Yes, some more hairs. But so we worked together. That's why I was invited to join your meeting. So we have a biography together, Reinhard and me, and that's why I'm here. Let me just introduce our law firm, as we are not yet a member of Bridge Alliance. We are a Germany-based law firm. We are practicing international business law and criminal business law. We are consulting German and European companies to set up their international structures, to organize the international business. We are doing a lot of business between the US and Germany, or Germany to the US, and also between Germany and Israel. We have a focus on compliance matters. This is sometimes necessary when, you know, especially German mid-sized companies go abroad, go to the US, they have to take care of compliance matters. And in the moment now we really take care of the new European Union whistleblower directive that will be set up soon, or is already set up European-wise, but has to be transferred into national laws in 21. So this will be a lot of work for the lawyers, but also for the entrepreneurs. Golden visa. What is golden visa? The idea of golden visa is obvious, and I'm a little bit sarcastic, but the idea is bring your money and you're welcome. So whenever you have money and you want to do business in another country and bring your money with you, you are welcome. This, before we enter into details, we just should say, okay, this makes a lot of sense for all the people or all the parties involved, for the individual, for the entrepreneur, for the family, for the people. They can use, or they have an advantage from the second citizenship. They can bring their kids to other countries to have them to go to have them going to schools there. They often can travel without visa, and they can optimize their tax situation. So they can pay taxes where the lowest tax rate is given to them, and this can be good to optimize your tax. It also makes sense for the business. So the standard file we're working on is that private reasons to go abroad are combined with business reasons. Entrepreneurs from wherever say, okay, I want to stay longer in Great Britain. I want to have a German passport in a special period of time. I want to go to the US. Reinhard will be talking about EB5. What is a US topic to stay, or to have the allowance to stay longer in a foreign country. So also for the business, it makes sense. You have access to foreign markets, especially this is important, or this is attractive for entrepreneurs in the European Union, because you enter into a big market and you have access to this big market. You have a larger customer base. Perhaps you have less restrictions when you have a double citizenship, and also your country, your company has less restrictions. For example, if they enter into one of the countries of the European Union, and again, you can optimize your tax situation. And for the country, so for the country you are entering into, it strengthens the country as a business location. They have capital inflow, they create jobs, and they also, what is also good in the globalized world, strengthen their cultural diversity. So it makes a lot of sense to think about golden visa. Where we are. Here we go. So what is golden visa? What is kind of a definition? It's the right of residence and citizenship by investment. This is shortage is RBI, residence by investment, and CBI, citizenship by investments. I already talked about the possible advantages. You can travel to other countries without applying for visa, for example, within the European Union. You can travel all over the European Union without visa, without border control too. You have the right of residence in a certain country, and as I already said, you have a benefit of low tax rates, or you can optimize your tax situation. There are a lot of citizenships by investment programs all over the world. Known, for example, the Caribbean countries, they're known for having programs. Cape Verde, Austria, Bulgaria, a lot of countries have special programs. Reinhard told me that it could be a smart idea to focus on the European side. So this is what we are doing today. What you have to know, what you should know, is to obtain citizenship. So a foreign passport, perhaps a dual citizenship, so you keep your own old passport and get a new one. It usually requires that one has lived in the country for a certain time. So you always have the step you work there, you have residency, and then you have citizenship. Normally, there are some some programs where it's not necessary, but normally you have to stay in the country for a certain period of time before you are allowed to enter into citizenship, to apply for citizenship. So even if you have a lot of money and you plan to go somewhere and you invest a lot of money, even then you have to stay some years before you apply for citizenship in this country. And in some countries, and this is quite attractive for entrepreneurs, but also family-wise, it is possible to obtain a double citizenship. So you keep your own passport and get your old and get a new passport. Germany was very restrictive with that for a couple of years. They didn't allow foreigners who wanted citizenship to keep their own passport or keep their old passport, but they gave this up, and more it's possible that you have a dual citizenship, a German and another one. So there are European countries that are members of the EU. Not every European country is member of the EU, such as Switzerland, for example, or others. And they offer special programs for obtaining residency and potential citizenship of the EU. Why potential citizenship? It's not all of those who want to live in a country also want to be a citizen of this country. It can be that people only want to live here and they want to stay, for example, in Germany or in the EU for a couple of years, but they do not want to give up their citizenship, or they even do not want double citizenship. So it's also about residency. Examples for programs within the EU are Portugal, Cyprus, Spain, Ireland, and Austria. Austria is quite new. Portugal, Cyprus, Spain, and Ireland always had special programs to bring business and also people in, and to do this residence by investment and citizenship by investment programs. Beside these programs, and this is very interesting on one hand and also good for you to know, you should always check if beside the program, even in a country where they do not have a program, there's a possibility to obtain a residency. For example, in Germany, Germany is not amongst these countries that are on the list of those who have special programs for RBI or CBI, but we have the possibility, or every entrepreneur who invests here and lives here for quite a while, also normally after 8 years has the possibility to apply for citizenship. So that's why, and this is one of the messages for you and your clients or those who you're consulting, you always have to watch, is there a program, a special program, or is there any other way beside the official programs to obtain a citizenship? This is something that always has to be checked. So you see here all the countries of the European Union, citizens of a member state of the European Union. This is now, just an overview over European law for those of you who do not come from the European countries. Those who know, they can get a coffee, but the others could listen. This is an overview over the European countries. As you can see, Switzerland in the middle of the European Union is not a European country officially, but in many parts it's associated. But this is an overview over all the countries, and generally those who are citizens of one of these countries can travel completely freely within the European Union. Not at Corona times, as you can imagine. We had some restrictions during the last couple of months. The Austrian closed the borders toward the most eastern parts of Europe, and the Scandinavians closed the borders. So Corona is not the normal situation, but normally you can pass the borders without passport control, without any restrictions. You just drive through on the Autobahn or on the highways, and there is no border control whatsoever. So what is European Union? It's a big market. It's the third biggest market in the world. It has 27 countries. It is one of the major world trading powers in the world. It has a GDP in this 2017 numbers of 15.3 trillion. This it will be worse with Corona, but we take the good numbers from the past. What they do is trading amongst each other. So 64% of the countries' total trade is done with other countries in the bloc. It's only 6.97, almost 7% of the world population, but 50.6% of the global imports and exports. So it's beside the US and China, one of the three largest players in the world economically. The European market, or the European single market, operates on the basis of the 4 freedoms. Whenever you read about the European Union, you read about these 4 freedoms. It's free movement of goods, free movement of persons, freedom to provide services, free movement of capital. What is important for you as persons and entrepreneurs is free movement of persons. That means there's a free movement of worker and free movement of establishment. You can move wherever you want. You can work wherever you want in the European Union. There are no restrictions whatsoever. As I said, there are no passport checks longer in place between the Schengen countries. And also you have the freedom to provide services. So whenever you're a member of the European Union or a company from the European Union, you have business in the European Union, you are free to bring your services to other countries of the European Union. This is quite a big advantage because you have no hurdles whatsoever between the countries. So you have golden visa in Europe. This is an overview, and if you want the source, it's Transparency Organization. They have a brochure about golden visa. You can see on the map which countries have visa. This visa is residence by investment programs, and also you have citizenship by investment programs. So Malta, for example, you can get both. If you want a residence by investments, you can get it. If you want a citizenship by investments, you can also get it. It always depends on the money you want to spend, the budget you have, and it also depends on what you want. So you can see from this overview that there are a couple of countries that offer this official programs. But as I said, even if you want to enter a country that is not on this list or on this map, you should always try to find out under which condition you can go there. As you can see here, what is quite interesting, Hungary, they closed it, so they shut it down. This is due to their political situation or their government. They didn't want it, so they had it, but they didn't want it any longer, so they closed it. It's terminated. Golden visa in Europe, some examples. And you have very different rules. If you would ask me, perhaps in the question it will come up, how much money do I need to spend, or what budget do I need to get a residence or a residency or a citizenship? Nobody knows exactly. So it always depends. This is typical lawyer's answer. It depends, but this is the fact here. You can see it here. Cyprus, you need for example, an investment of 2.2 million. It's always euro. And you should buy some real estate. Then you can apply for European citizenship after some time. Ireland says you need 1 million. I just read in the in some news this is a little bit higher now. So it always changes. Portugal, it's a little bit less. Spain. So you can say there are programs, but you have to check for every country which budget you need and which conditions you have to meet. So if you have to stay there for a certain period of time, in some countries you have to stay for only half a year before you can apply for citizenship. In some countries you have to, over the year, you have to stay there for a certain period of time. In some countries you do not have to stay there at all, or you only have to be there once or twice a year. So it's very different. What about Germany? Germany does not have a designated golden visa program like other European and non-European countries. But even here in Germany, if you want to invest in your own business, this can lead to German citizenship in the long run. So if you if you invested here, if you set up a company here, or if you bought shares from a German company and you had a reason to stay here because you work here and you're here for, let's say, 8 years, this is the rule according to paragraph 8 of the German Citizenship Act. Then you can apply for citizenship if you meet some other conditions. You have to speak German, and you have to, be part of the community. But even though we don't have an official program, it's possible to be here, to stay here, and after some time also to apply for citizenship. Also, what is interesting, and this is the same in almost every European, in all European countries, it's also very much dependent on the government. So the government has the power to say, okay, if he wants to get a citizenship after 6 years and he's integrated, fine, let's do it. So it also very much depends on the local authorities, on the people you talk to, and you can always check if you can meet different conditions to apply for citizenship. We have one special case in Germany. This is the naturalization to Article 116 of the German Constitution for NS victims. So people that were those whose families were sent away in the Second World War, they can apply for citizenship at once, and they do not even have to speak good language skills or have to speak good language skills to get a citizenship. This is very special about German. So golden visa, because I'm sure you will ask me about what is the rule for, It's hard to say. Many countries offer the possibility of citizenship through investment, but they, on purpose, they keep it vague and do not establish clear rules. That's on purpose. They want to pick. This is not fair on one hand. On the other hand, it's the rules. It's their own rules that they set, and they still are free in setting up the rules. So there's no European overall rule. Every country sets its own rule for its citizenship. So in this case, it must be checked very individually whether the conditions are given, and that's why it's always necessary to work with consultants in the country who know the national regulations. And I think this is what Reinhard also does. When we have clients that want to go abroad and they think about France or Great Britain or Austria, we always talk to people from the region, from the country, because they are the specialists and you have to work together with them. Our job, I think, is to organize it. Austria, for example, sometimes it's hard to say. Austria is a very good example where it's hard to say because the amount required is unknown. They say in the legal rules, extraordinary contribution, außergewöhnliche Zuwendung, whatever extraordinary is, nobody knows. Or additional requirements, they say extraordinary achievement, whatever extraordinary is. There's no definition whatsoever what extraordinary is, so they can do it, just like they will decide. Sometimes it seems to be clear. Malta, for example, there's a citizenship law. There's amount required. It's a little bit more than $1 million that you have to invest. It says that you should make a donation of 650,000 euros to Maltese Foundation and another 500 of investment. And there are regulations of family members. So this is sometimes if you want to be in a family, in some countries, it's like you are, the entrepreneur goes, he has to work and live there. And for the government, it's clear that the family follows. In other countries like Malta, they say, okay, we want extra cash for your family members. So this is here it's clear. Here it's more or less not clear. Austria, you never know what's going to happen. Here it's quite easy to check whether or not you're allowed to apply for citizenship. So let's come to a conclusion. There's no standard case. The possibilities for each business and model, for each business model and the family must be checked individually. On one hand, if you are flexible and you do not really, you only want to enter, for example, the EU, it's good because you can pick the best program from all European Union programs. On the other hand, if there are good reasons, family-wise or business-wise for a specific country, you should first check this, and because it's always good to follow personal reasons and business reasons instead of immigration reasons. So perhaps for the end, what would be a typical scenario if someone approaches us or approaches also colleagues? How would we structure this project? Step one would be questions and answers. So we would check what is planned, in which country should the residents obtaining of citizenship take place? Is there the target the citizenship or only residence? This is a big difference. What are the reasons for obtaining the residence permit? Is there already business in another country, or do we need to acquire business, or do we need a foundation of business? What is the budget available? For whom should the residence permit to be obtained? So is it the whole family? Is it how big is the family? Is it the kids? And also private issues are important. So we care about the kids. So what about education? What about schooling? Working permit for husband or wife, whatever. Are there time limits? So is there a time frame that we have to meet? Step two, then, after we ask these questions and got the first answers, we enter into an analysis. So we check the conditions for obtaining a resident status in the country that is planned. We do planning and analysis for investment business activity, for investment in business activity. So we check the company situation. We check the conditions for the foundation. We check the opportunities to invest, and we also check the usefulness of business activities. Enter into a first competition analysis, although this is not really our job, but we have to make sure that there are no market entry barriers that prevent us from going to a country that is planned to. So then we make a proposal action plan, and then we start the implementation. That's more or less it. Once it is done, and the company set up, this is the typical case. You have private reasons to have a perhaps second passport, and you have an entity or running business already in a foreign country. Then the entrepreneur comes and says, okay, listen, I have I bought a company in Germany. I want to spend some time of my life in Germany. I also think about having a second passport in Germany or Spain or Austria or wherever. And let's structure it, and then we start working on it. We analyze it, we ask questions, and then we set up the project. But also it has to be consulted after the first steps are gone, because once you are in the country, you also have to follow or to meet some more conditions to get the citizenship in the end. So I know that's more or less it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stefan. Not only insightful, informative, but also on time. And as an organizer of an event like that, you really appreciate it if folks may finish on time.
You told me to be in time.
Yeah, that's good. That's a German culture, right?
Not always, as you know.
So for me as a Northern German, I can make a joke. In the Rhineland, it's different.
Okay.
So Stefan, we have a couple of questions coming in, and again, it's a good opportunity for everybody to either use the chat function or to use a Q&A. The Q&A is somehow preferred. However, right now we are taking any questions coming in. So the first question is, if I have a resident status as an entrepreneur, does this apply to all of my family?
Well, as I said, it very much depends. In some programs, the family is automatically included because the government or the officials say there's one member of the family and the family shouldn't be torn away apart. So that's why the whole family is involved or is in the program. In some other programs, like Malta, for example, they charge extra for each family member. So this is something that very much has to be checked individually for every country.
So what I hear about is when you say they charge about it, so there's a governmental charge.
Yes.
But from the legal point of view, you're entitled, so to say. So if you're a spouse, then you can come on in
Yes.
to the program, you just have to pay a fee.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You only have you always have the investor who's more or less the leading part. Sometimes it's not the leading party in the family, but business-wise, it's the leading party, and the family follows.
Great. Second question talks about the money, because at the end we all know it's all about the money. Is there any average amount that you have to invest for a permanent residence or citizenship? What's your experience here? And I see it's a two-part question. Do you have a different investment needed for the golden visa for the permanent residence versus the citizenship?
Yes, there are different, let's say, prices. Each program has its own prices. If you want more details, just go to this transparency golden visa brochure. You can have it in the internet, just Google it, and there you have an overview. They have an overview over all the requirements that you have to meet in different European countries. There is, you know, yes, there are different prices for residency and citizenship, and also there are different prices all over the countries. So you have some countries that start with 250, 300,000 euros investment, plus you have to buy real estate. Some say, okay, you have to give some investment into a non-profit organization, plus you have to invest in business. Some say we want $1 million or 1.2 million, and then you are allowed to enter. You can also invest in there's sometimes a mixture between you're allowed to enter in your own business, but then the business has to be a business in the country. So the first step is foundation and then investment in the company. It very much differs. So there's no strict rule or amount of money or budget that you can say you really have to. I'm sorry to say that, but this is very much depends on the program you are in, you want to apply for.
So is 1 million high? Is 1 million low?
No, 1 million is okay.
500,000 too low?
Yes. For, between 500,000 and 1.5 million is more or less the average.
Okay, thank you. The next question I see is, how many individuals have already been granted citizenship through golden visa? Do you have numbers?
Well, citizenship it's a few. Most, you can see here my numbers. Most are Cyprus and Malta. They have Cyprus has 3,300 citizenships sold, and Malta 2,000. I think it's numbers from 2018. I'm not quite sure. I just checked it, double checked it, but it seems as if it's numbers from 2018, so not too old. Austria has some like 300 and a few in Bulgaria. Residency, there's much more. Residency, there are a couple of thousand residencies all over the European Union. Let me see. I have the number here, but it was like some couple of thousand for Austria. There are countries that have like 20,000 residencies, investments for residencies. So it's also a big economical value that they generate. So it's also really money that we're talking about.
Okay, so interesting to see that there's a difference between citizenship and residencies.
Yes.
And I wonder whether
Yes.
folks who would like to be a resident but not a citizen have any tax considerations here.
Yes, residence. I mean, residency is on one hand you have more countries, as I showed on the map, that have the only a residence program but no citizenship program. But it's easier to get the residency. That's why the numbers are much bigger. And a lot of people do not want to give up their first passport too. So this is also a reason. So if you have a country, if you want to enter a country and the country says, okay, if you want to apply for citizenship here, we do not allow dual citizenship, then they only go for residency. This also can happen.
Perfect. So I'm getting one question in. Do you have the same information on Switzerland too, as in citizenship and residency?
Let me see. I don't have it here because it's not European Union.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yes. I also bet that the Swiss do not give this information. I can find this out, so people should send me an email.
Okay, Frank, I see you asked this question, so if you send me the question again as a reminder with the best email to reach you, we can follow up with you.
Yes.
Then the next question I see is where do the majority of people who obtain a right of residence or citizenship through this program come from? So what's the country of origin, in other words?
Most come from China, Russia, Arabian countries, you can say. Most come from China, Russia, and the Arabian countries. I have the numbers of the EU residency here. Greece, for example, 7,500. Hungary, 19,000. Latvia, 17,000. So it's quite big numbers. Portugal, 17,000. Spain, 25,000. I think this is the numbers from 2018. Versus the citizenship, what is only, Austria, 300. Cyprus, 3,300. Malta, 2,000. So you see, it's 10 times more the residency.
Okay.
Where do they come from? It's mainly China, Russia, and some countries from Arabia, like the Emirates, some, but only a few. Lebanon, some. So Chinese and Russians are the most.
Great, perfect, Stefan. Thank you so much for participating today. And
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
And I hope we will, of course, have a chance to see you again at our final panel. So anybody who has a question for Stefan or anybody else, please make sure you note your questions for the final panel, which we had scheduled for about 12:20. So in about an hour and 20 minutes, you have a chance to see Stefan again. With that said, I am now scheduled to share some tidbits about the green card opportunities through the EB5, through the Investors Program. And I hope that my screen share at this time does work and that everybody is able to see the first screen. The EB5 program is something very similar to the Golden Visa program in Europe. In order to make this slightly more fun and slightly more interactive, some of you may know that I just published a book, and at the end I will ask a smart question, and I feel almost like a teacher now. The one of you who answers the question correctly, I will gladly mail them over a book, and if there's a tie, I have a couple of more books. So just be mindful, I will ask you a question later. Why is EB5 relevant? And just starting with the big picture, those who reside in the United States may know that a good number of jobs are created by foreign investors. And this is one of the governmental goals, maybe the largest governmental goal. It is to generate jobs in the United States. In the greater Charlotte region, 14%, that's a 1 and a 4, 14% of the salaries are paid by foreign-owned entities to American citizens. So the method of that is to use foreign direct investment as a United States workforce development. So in a summary, there are 3 goals behind the EB5 program. One is it offers you, the investor, a permanent residency. It offers also to your immediate family a lawful permanent residency, which I put into the acronym of LPR. And also it gives you a chance to do a risk reduction through diversification if you are pushing over assets from your native country into the United States. So in a way, the EB5 visa matches the 2 different concepts. One, the governmental goal to create jobs, and the second one, the individual goals for you to verify. And I'm just getting the little heads up that I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry for that. Let me try to do that again. Okay, so let me try to start again, and hopefully we see it right now. If not, please let me know that you are not seeing it, and I will try to do it again. So what I had walked you through was the question of why EB5. So the governmental goal in generating jobs, keep in mind 14% of the salaries in the Charlotte region are paid by foreign-owned entities, as well as the individual goals. So it is a stimulus package, and the stimulus package gives qualified foreign nationals an opportunity to become nationals if they pass through the permanent residency program. So in a way, there is a path to citizenship included here. It was created by the United States Congress in the year 1990, and I have not dug in deeper as to what was a real legislative situation in the year 1990, whether it was something to fight a recession or something the United States realized was just a good way to attract foreign capital into the United States. The program is mandated and monitored by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. We all know that the United States has a whole load of visa definitions and visa categories. So this pyramid goes by numbers. The largest number is issued to B visa holders as well as to visa waiver beneficiaries. They can travel 90 days into the United States with a passport, or they need a B visa stamp in the passport. The next and also smaller level of investors covers the E's and the L's and the H visas. These are visa categories which are there to give you the temporary opportunity to be in the United States. Therefore, they are called non-immigrant visas. And on top of that are then the immigrant visas. Somebody who would like to have a green card has the intent to permanently live and reside in the United States. It has implications on the tax side. And I see that a couple of my friends from the tax consulting jobs are also here present, and they will probably give you some feedback if you ask them, that having a green card also makes you subject to taxation in the United States for your worldwide income. And then narrowing it down, the smallest number of yearly processed applications are for citizenship, which means you would like to become a naturalized US citizen. So what is the main motivation to go the EB5 route? And I'm giving you those reasons so you can do your mental mind check. Does any of those categories, does any of those things apply to me? Do I have a need to follow my thoughts to invest in the United States because of the educational needs for my children? Do I have a security issue in my home country? Do I see political and economical challenges? Do I see an exit strategy out of a current investment? Do I maybe have health considerations that in my home country, healthcare is rather complicated and the American healthcare system is much better? Do I have a concern that I need to take or pass language tests? And for the EB5 visa, the answer is, for example, for that, no, you do not need to have a language test done. So children's education is a reason I hear often when my clients talk with me about the EB5 program, because you do have the opportunity to get not only your spouse in, but also your children under the age of 21. They get a residency status together with you, so therefore they can attend all the great universities we have in this country. Security is a secondary reason I hear. It is a personal and a family security. I talk sometimes to investors who tell me about their guarded compound where they cannot leave without bodyguards. There are situations out where the threat for life and wealth is high, and it is good to come to the United States where your personal and family safety is high. It's also a question of security. What if there is a change of political situation in my home country? What if there is a coup d'etat? What if I want to get out of here after we had military or some kind of governmental takeover? You are, once you have a green card, eligible to apply for United States citizenship, and therefore many investors I talk to see that as an opportunity out of their native countries. Number 3 is healthcare. Once you are on a green card situation, you have access through healthcare benefits, there is insurance opportunities, and there is no discrimination given for you. Everybody in the United States who either has insurance or is possible to apply for Medicare or Medicaid gets the same healthcare, and there is no discrimination based on national origin. So if it is too good to be true, what do you need to show? And you need something in the neighborhood of around about $1 million or 900,000 to be precise, if you want to go to rural countries, or $1.8 million if you want to go to metropolitan areas. This needs to be clear cash, a clear loan. You need to show that you sold your company. It could be also an inheritance, but whatever it is, you need to show the money. Show me the money. And those funds need to be verified and verifiable by US qualified accountants, CPAs. I put in the earlier slide the distinction between 900,000 US dollars and 1.8 million. So if you would like to invest with your green card investment into a rural area, then you could do that for only $900,000. And unlike what Stefan Lode said earlier about the golden visa, the American situation is clearly defined by law that this $900,000 is a clear value. And the targeted employment areas are areas where you have an unusual amount of unemployment, which is defined as 50% of the national average of unemployment, or you go to a rural community with a population of less than 20,000 people. So if you want to go there, $900,000 would do the trick. Otherwise, you would have to put 1.8 million into the investment. The money is not lost. It's just required for an investment. There are possibilities to show how the jobs are being created, because it would be nice to have this automated thing. I invest 900,000 or 1.8 million, and I get immediately a green card out of that. You do have to generate 10 direct jobs out of that. And you need to create those 10 jobs either directly based on your individual application. And one of the long jokes I have is when I drive through the countryside and I see car wash centers, I always wonder how many of those car wash centers are generated through an EB5 program, where there is a local investment. This local investment is in the neighborhood of 1 million or more. It generates jobs for 10 people, because a car wash center, always you need some folks to clean your car. Alternatively to the individual centers, the individual application is the regional center. And the regional center is where a couple of investors bundle their interest all together and they create one regional center. The advantages of an individual application is that if you do have business experience, if you do have the ability to invest time and effort into your business, You are in control. And I know fellow entrepreneurs out, I'm an entrepreneur myself. If you want to have control of an investment, you need to be involved. You need to know what's happening. And you can do the EB5 program in both. You can buy an existing business and therefore secure long-term job creation, or you can create a new company from your own. Both ways would work, but the individual application benefit is that you are in your own business. Comparing that and looking into the disadvantages, the disadvantage is, of course, you need to spend time and money. You need to dedicate your time. You also see liabilities more prevalent, and you are responsible for everything, for the job creation, for the documentation, and all jobs need to be created directly. So the fact that you are hiring 10 folks to work for you, and that those 10 folks have indirect created jobs through spouses, or that those people who work for you need to do groceries, they need to do other things, they need to have other services around them, you will not get a credit for that. And we all know in the investment world of foreign direct investment that behind each job directly generated, you have something in the neighborhood of 8 indirect jobs created in the region. And also, it may cost you more than 1.8 million to run the business. So in a way, yeah, the sky is the limit. On the regional center side, which is kind of like the bundling of your efforts and of your interests, the advantage is you're not necessarily limited to one city or one state. You also have less liability, how it feels, and less control. But the good part is indirect jobs count. So if you think construction workers, and go back to my car wash center, those who generate the jobs immediately are the ones who are doing the work on the real estate side, the groundbreaking, the construction. And then later comes the worker in who do the day-to-day job. So all of those are bundled together through a study, and therefore with 1.8 million, it may be much easier to generate 10 jobs, because we as entrepreneurs all know if you invest 1.8 million, it may be very tough to generate 10 jobs. The disadvantages of the regional center is that there is no guaranteed return. But of course, if you do your own business, there's also no guaranteed return. The other disadvantage is that you are, from a legal point of view, often invited in as a limited partner, which means you have also limited control. However, the biggest disadvantage I see is that the visas granted for regional centers are limited to 3,000 programs, 3,000 visas per year. And this may be something to consider, especially towards the end of the year. Keep in mind, United States Immigration Service counts in American fiscal years, which runs from October 1. What are typical examples of EB5 investments as well as regional centers? It is building a building, building a hospital, building a convention center or a sports center. We see a lot of soccer centers out being built where you have indoor soccer as an opportunity to satisfy the need for the growing soccer market in the United States. We see it in the hospitality industry, in both hotels as well as in restaurants. And I have seen very great ideas from German bakers, from German brewers, from German specialists in the hospitality industry to do something and use the EB5 vehicle for that. I also see it in the healthcare industry. Think adult care facilities. We do have an aging population, not only in the United States and in Europe, but those aging adults also mean that there is a growing need for Alzheimer or specialized care facilities. An EB5 program would be a great way to create such adult care facilities. And of course, why not make a movie? Why not create a movie studio? And we have seen over the past years, a couple of movie studios being financed through an EB5 program. So let's step back for a moment and think about what are the key considerations and what do you need to know. The green card benefits are for you and your immediate family below the age of 21. And if I make this kind of limiting at this time, once you have your passport, once you obtain your US citizenship, you have much more opportunities to invite extended family in as well. There is a limitation of 10,000 visas annually, but in the most recent history, this 10,000 visa limit has never been cut. There is the benefit of the ease of travel into the United States, where you do not need any further visa. You just have to show up, show your green card, and you are invited back in. On the slightly more negative side, think about your tax consequences. Certain countries have exit taxes. You have now subjected yourself to the United States income tax, which would tax you on a worldwide income, but also keep in mind that your inheritance, your estate planning may be slightly more complex. And going back to our book about the family protocol, and especially what my friend Ali Al-Gharidi said from the situation in Saudi Arabia, the planning of an estate grows in complexity if it is more international. So in other words, a pre-immigration tax planning is necessary before you make the move. The good part is there is no requirement to speak English. And yes, if you have heard from other sources that there is an English language test, this is true, but it is administered to those who would like to obtain the United States nationality. So if you just want to live in this country, there is no requirement to speak English, even though from a good business point of view, you should, and be it only able to survive in the grocery store. What are the qualifications? You need to have a valid passport, which seems to be pretty easy, but why is it not always easy that there are countries which are in political disarray where they don't issue passports anymore? There are countries which may strip you of your nationality. There are nationals who fall into the problematic zone of having no nationality attached to themselves. This is then indeed a problem. You need to show that your global net worth is in excess of $1 million and that you have an annual income of $200,000 documented for the past 2 years. It needs to be an identifiable proof of funds. You should not have a criminal record in your home country, and you need to have verifiable tax returns. So while it all sounds pretty easy, what is the next step? If you are investing in both a regional center as well as your own EB5 program, there is a review of the offering prospectus. A good idea. It is also good to know that all nationalities qualify. Once in a while, I get messages that there are certain thoughts of limiting certain nationalities out of the EB5 program. You need to have the money now. It is not about that you want to do this and that, and at one point in the future, you can show the funds. No, show me the money now means they need to be available within 60 days. And you do need to have the intent to reside. So if you do not want to come to the United States, this is not the right vehicle. So it's nothing you can do today as an insurance plan. So if I want to come to the United States in the next 10 years, so I have it there. No, you need to reside in the United States. And also keep in mind that if you do not reside long enough in the United States, your green card status may be revoked. So how is the timeline? There is, of course, always a need to get the documents ready. There is a need to file the proper application with the United States government or the USCIS. And then after approximately a year or so, maybe a year and a half, and in time of Corona, what we see is that processing times at the United States embassies or consulates are rather longer than shorter. So think about a year to a year and a half, you get your adjustment of status, which is a documentation in your passport that you can enter the United States. You then have a port of entry documentation that you entered the United States, and then approximately in the area of 21 to 24 months, you need to show that you generated those 10 jobs you had promised the government that you would generate. And after 2 years, you can apply for the lifting of the status. Lifting of the status means that you are free to do with whatever you want to do. And there is an audit involved here, and sometimes your status may be not lifted after 24 months because there are a couple of conditions imposed by the US government, and it could be extended to another year. But at the end, you will get, once everything is lifted, the unconditional green card. But you and your family enjoy immediately the benefits of the green card status, even though it is limited to the operation of your business. We see a strong interest from Chinese investors, and 83% of the EB5 visas are being used by investors from China. There is a strong demand from the Chinese market, and we see that there is some political uproar right now in the world, but it's not time to talk that. What's time today is to talk about the opportunities for China, and EB5 investors who are born in Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan are not infected from any Chinese discussion for United States immigration discussions. They are considered nationals of a different country. Also, there are certain EB5 investor rules when the spouse was not born in mainland China. Let's talk about the current situation. In the year 2019, the investment threshold was raised from 500,000 or 1 million to 900,000 or 1.8 million. I do believe that in the immediate future, we will not see an increase. Ever since I have worked with the EB5 program, that's the first increase in time. So I can see the 900,000 or 1.8 million to be the long-term new normal. We also see a redefinition of the target employment areas. What does it mean to qualify for investment of only 900,000? But here's my practical approach. If the discussion whether you are investing 900,000 or 1.8 million may break you, never think that a deal is only as expensive as the initial price sticker, because once you enter the United States, you still do need to have additional funds available, at least in order to run the operation, because if everything is invested, you still need some working capital. I started with the phrase that the United States government has an interest in having EB5 investors into the United States because of the economic impact. And we have seen in different time frames, and it's not always easy to pull proper data, but we have seen that in 5 years, from the year 2010 to 2015, about 16 billion in capital have been invested. So in 5 years, about 16 billion have been invested. All of this together generated something in the neighborhood of 276,000 jobs. So 276,000 Americans are employed, but for a foreign investment. All of this contributed 37 billion to the United States economy, if you look into the GDP, and it also generated 5.2 billion in tax revenue. So in other words, it is a concept which works, which also makes me think in all the discussion in the political election year, how to change immigration. I do not see any changes coming up for the 2 reasons. Number 1, it is significant for the job creation, and number 2, it is significant for the tax revenue. The good part is you as an investor can invest in an opportunity in one city. You can live wherever you would like to live. And of course, the picture in the upper middle part shows the Blue Ridge Parkway, beautiful part to live. But you can also work in New York or wherever you want to be. At the end, it is up to you. The investment does not need to match where you live, does not need to match where you work. In coming to an end, I would like to welcome questions, welcome opportunities to ask questions. And also you see the QR code, which you can scan with your phone if you would like to get a copy of my book. I published this in July, so it's brand new, fresh from the press. And I'm back to taking not only questions, but also to ask one question to the audience, because I had promised to give this book away as a little gift. Who is willing to answer my question? And please use the chat function to type in your right answer and your name so we are all fair. What is the percentage of salaries paid in the Greater Charlotte region by foreign-owned entities? Any takers? The right answer will get this book. And I see Ilonka Günther answered 14%, and the answer is correct. Ilonka, I'll send you the book. Okay, Panico, that's kind of like, that's why I said, let's call it in tie for two. Panico, you listened as well, so you're getting a book from me as well. And let's move to the Q&A question session. And I believe, Julian, you're moderating the questions, right? What did you see from questions so far?
So the first question, Reinhardt, is how long after I get the green card do I need to operate the business?
So it's a brilliant question, because it almost gives me a chance to talk about two different things. One is how long after you get the green card initially. This is a 2-year time frame. So after you got the green card initially, it is then issued as a conditional green card, which means it's conditional to you running the show. But after your condition is removed, you can exit the business immediately. So in other words, the idea of the US government was, when you invest something like 1 to 2 million, and you invest this and you have all the money in and you are happy with the investment, you take the money out, how likely are you to leave the country again? How likely are you to pull the money out? So after the condition is lifted, you can, in theory, leave the very next day.
All right, so another question is, I see that there are only 10,000 EB5 visas available per year. Other categories have over 50,000. How likely am I to get EB5 approved?
That's a good question, and I believe the question comes from what we hear sometimes is that certain visa categories are oversubscribed. And with oversubscribed, I mean is that, for example, the H-1B, the qualification visa, where there is a limitation, where there is a statutory cap. And as recent as last year's, there were 55,000 visas available and hundreds of thousands of applicants, and the United States government is making a lottery. Not here for this kind of visas. For the EB5, there are 10,000, and they have not been oversubscribed in the recent history. And again, I do not see that coming soon. However, if you are oversubscribed in 1 year, just fill in the application again, and then you have a better chance, because the application process is kind of like a year round. So that's a long answer, is don't worry about the 10,000 number, because the oversubscription is not likely to happen.
Great. And the last question that came in is, instead of bundling in a regional center, can I co-invest, for example, with my brother to keep it in the family?
Okay, so can I co-invest with my brother to get a green card for my brother and myself? If I only invest 1.8 million, the answer is no. However, can your brother invest with you and you get 1 green card out of it, meaning only for you or for your brother? The answer is yes. However, what you could do is you could bundle 2 together and make 2 investments out of the 2 siblings. And we see that sometimes is that one runs the real estate component, the other one runs the organizational component. So in a way, find your own structure. But the quick answer is every investment of 1.8 million equals 1 green card issued per family, and the brother does not count as your immediate family.
So those were the questions that we had, Reinhardt.
Okay.
Subject to anything else? No, I don't see anything on the Q&A.
Perfect. Julian, thank you so much for moderating the questions. And looking into the chat, there's also no activity except for the 2 lucky winners who got my book. I'm excited to send it over to you. I also see in the room is Dawn, and I'm very excited, Dawn, that you're able to join us today. because right now we are ready for another break. But unlike the other break, I would suggest you should not leave because you are ready for a treat. Dawn is a world-renowned musician, and I have the opportunity to have listened to Dawn's performances on many times. I call Dawn a friend of my family, and I'm very happy that Dawn agreed to perform with us today. And Dawn, in her typical way of being so modest about herself, did not want to talk too much about herself, so let me do that. Dawn is a 2-time Emmy Award winner when she made music together with NASCAR, and that's something especially in the Queen City where NASCAR is a big thing. So please help me to welcome Dawn with a beautiful performance of a Bach sonata. Welcome, Dawn.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to ask you about how much time would you like me to play, because there are many repeats that I can put in or leave out.
Well, you know, the music lover in me would tell you have as long as you want. However, our break is scheduled to be in the 10-minute area, so whatever you can make in 10 to 12 minutes. Would love to hear you playing the Flauto Traverso, the flute by Dawn Colozzi.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you. That was the Allemande from Partita in A minor. And I'm just going to play a portion of the Courant because it's very, very long, but I wanted to get in all 4 movements. So the Courant. the last two movements are a sarabande and a bourrée. And as you can probably tell, that the most challenging part about this work by Bach is finding a place to breathe. So this particular work is extremely athletic. So this is the sarabande.
Wow. This is amazing. So thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
This was a real treat, Dawn. Thank you for performing not only for us to get a little mental break from complicated stuff, but also to enjoy some beautiful music, and you had it mastered as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you have a great day and a great success with your meeting today.
Perfect. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you soon in person.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So now it's my great honor to introduce to you officially my fellow board member of the Bridge Alliance, Julian Dawson, whose secret is that he speaks German as fluent as I do when I want, but I don't want always. And Julian, how about you? How do you want to speak German now, or rather English?
I'll stick to English today.
You stick to English, but on a rather more relevant note, Julian is a managing partner of Bridge House Law in Canada and will present today with his colleague about investment opportunities in Canada. So following the theme of investing for Chinese high net worth individuals, how to structure investments in the Arabian Peninsula, how to get a golden visa over to Europe, how to get a green card in the United States. So I'm now curious, what color does a green card have in Canada, and how do you call it? Julian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Julian Dawson. I'm a member of Bridge House Law Vancouver, and with me is Kia Vandeluz. Our presentation today is entitled Survey of Economic Migration to Canada, and is intended to be an overview of the legal issues and possible solutions that may confront foreign investors who wish to migrate to our jurisdiction. We are not seeking to provide anything more than a brief introduction in the time that we have. Legal advice always depends upon a client's specific circumstances, and this will vary from client to client. But there are a few general statements that we can make. Canada is a business-friendly environment. It has always embraced immigration. It has several programs that are well suited to foreign investors who are seeking to migrate. These programs are found mostly at the provincial rather than the federal level, which has been curtailing its activities in this regard. Another takeaway is that Canada has a very sophisticated legal system which allows for foreign investors to tax plan effectively and to structure their businesses in a manner that will allow them to satisfy their immediate business goals and to regulate how their businesses will be governed once implemented. And as is the case with other jurisdictions, there are new changes afoot. New laws regarding ownership transparency are coming into effect, at least in British Columbia, where we are situated. This means that beneficial owners will have to be disclosed, and this is a significant change which foreign investors will want to take into consideration in making their investment decisions.
So one of Canada's accolades is that the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, ranked Canada as the most attractive country for entrepreneurs in 2017. It also, and one of the metrics used in ranking Canada so well is its marginal effective tax rate, or METR for short. This rate is an estimate of the level of taxation on new business investment and takes into account federal, provincial, and territorial statutory corporate income tax rates, as well as other features of the corporate tax system. These other features include investment tax credits and key deductions such as capital cost allowances. The METR also takes into account other taxes paid by corporations, such as capital taxes and unrecoverable sales taxes paid on capital purchases. The METR is particularly useful for making comparisons among nations and sectors of the economy. Since the METR takes many factors into account, it provides a broad indication of overall tax competitiveness that is important to supplement comparisons of statutory tax rates. METRs also provide valuable historical perspective. As a result of the tax changes announced by Canada in 2018 in the fall economic statement, and the important tax changes announced by the US in December of 2017, Canada's average METR is now the lowest in the G7 and below the average of the OECD.
Just dealing with foreign tax relief, in general, taxpayers residents in Canada may deduct from their Canadian tax liability a credit for income or profits tax and withholding tax paid to another country. The foreign tax credit is calculated separately for foreign business tax and foreign non-business tax on a country-by-country basis. Corporations are taxed by the federal government and by one or more provinces or territories. The basic rate of federal corporate tax for 2020 is 38%, but it is reduced to 15% by an abatement of 10 percentage points on a corporation's taxable income earned in a province or territory, and a general rate reduction of 13 percentage points on a corporation's fully rated taxable income. Provincial and territorial tax rates are added to the federal tax and generally vary between 10 and 16% of taxable income. The federal government and the provincial and territorial governments may apply lower rates of tax to active small business earnings and earnings derived from manufacturing and processing. With respect to capital gains and losses, the taxable portion of capital gains and the deductible portion of capital losses is 50%. The deductible portion of capital losses in excess of taxable capital gains is termed net capital loss, may be carried back 3 years and carried forward indefinitely, but may be applied only against taxable capital gains. Further, Canada has enacted legislation to implement the multilateral convention to implement tax treaty-related measures to prevent base erosion and profit shifting, which I'll refer to as the MLI. The MLI entered into effect for any particular covered tax treaty in accordance with the provisions set forth in this entry into effect articles. The MLI does not operate to modify the application of Canada's tax treaties at the same time. For the MLI to come into effect for a particular bilateral tax treaty, both Canada and the other party to the treaty must have listed the treaty and ratified the MLI. Further, the impact of the MLI on any particular tax treaty will depend on the notifications and reservations made, as well as certain positions taken by the parties to that treaty under the MLI. The rates generally reflect the lower of the treaty rate and the rate under domestic tax law for dividends, interest, and royalties paid from Canada to residents of various treaty jurisdictions. Certain exemptions or conditions may apply depending on the terms of the particular treaty. Canada signed, though not necessarily ratified, such treaties with approximately 100 countries, including many European countries, China, Japan, Chile, Turkey, Tunisia, Venezuela, Russia, and Nigeria. Canada gives investors preferential market access through 14 trade agreements to 51 countries with nearly 1.5 billion consumers and a combined GDP of 49.3 trillion US dollars. The CPTPP agreement, along with customer and free trade agreements with the European Union and South Korea, makes Canada the only G7 nation with free trade access to the Americas, Europe, and the Asia Pacific region. The comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership gives companies operating in Canada preferential access to one of the largest trading blocs in the world, including key markets in Asia and Latin America. Canada has not only the largest in terms of numbers, but also the most elaborate and longest standing skilled labor migration systems in the OECD. More than 1 in 5 people in Canada is foreign-born, which is one of the highest rates in the OECD. 60% of Canada's foreign-born population is highly educated, which is, again, the highest share OECD-wide. According to the OECD, in 2017, most immigrants in Canada were selected using economic criteria.
The federal and provincial governments of Canada have entered into agreements whereby provinces may nominate candidates for permanent residence in Canada if the applicant has the intention to settle and establish themselves in a particular province. These programs incentivize investing in a province and starting up a business by creating a streamlined immigration process to receive permanent resident status for those candidates nominated by a province or territory. These programs do vary by province. So if we take BC, for example, BC's provincial nominee program, Entrepreneur Immigration Stream, has these following basic requirements. It requires a personal net worth of at least $600,000. This includes cash, assets in bank accounts, fixed deposits, real property, other investments, etc. The net worth must be legally obtained and may be under the spouse or common law partner's name. The net worth must be verifiable if invited to apply. Further, there are post-secondary credentials requirements or equivalent experience as an active business owner-manager with 100% ownership of the business for at least 3 of the past 5 years. The eligible experience as an active business person is as an owner or manager and or senior manager. You also must submit a business concept that demonstrates an active and ongoing management role in the day-to-day operations of your proposed business plan and the creation of at least 1 new job in the proposed business BC business. Further, there is a personal investment of $200,000 Canadian dollars in eligible expenses. Eligible registrants receive an invitation to apply to the BC PNP program under the Entrepreneur Immigration Stream. Eligibility is determined on a points-based system, which is allocated depending on the information you provide to the program. The highest scoring applicants are then invited to apply. And if you are successful, you are in an optimized position to acquire permanent residency status and eventually also permanent residency for your dependent family members. Though there's also an entrepreneur regional pilot program, which is designed to help meet the community's economic development needs and encourage investments outside of urban areas. These requirements do vary not only by region, within the province and by region, and these do require a visit to the region to which you apply. In terms of immigrating into Canada, some benefits include the political stability. In 2019, the World Bank ranked Canada 2nd among G7 countries in terms of political stability. Also, according to the World Economic Forum, Canada has the soundest banking system among G7 countries and ranks 6th in the world. Third, Canada is seen as the least corrupt country, the 2nd least corrupt country among G20 members and 12th globally. BC and Canada are taking active steps to increase its reputation as a leader in combating money laundering through its transparency register for corporations and another one for land ownership. The Registry of Corporate Beneficial Ownership in BC is a new program, a new act by the BC government, and this is to increase its capacity to combat money laundering and other financial crimes. All private BC companies are now required to keep and maintain transparency registers of beneficial owners. These transparency registers are unavailable to the public and are only accessible at a company's records office by tax official, law enforcement, certain regulators, and current directors of the company when access is requested. Beneficial owners are people who ultimately own or control a company directly or indirectly. The specific tests for who qualifies as a beneficial owner are found in the Business Corporations Amendment Act 2019, where they are referred to as significant individuals. We also have a land transparency register. And this is established under the Landowner Transparency Act, which, while received royal assent in 2019, establishes, it has not launched yet and will launch in fall of 2020. It establishes the first Canadian public registry of beneficial owners of BC property. Similar to the current regime of disclosure of legal ownership of real estate in British Columbia, certain beneficial ownership information reported to the new registry will be available to the public. The Act requires corporations, trusts, and partnerships which currently own or buy land to disclose their beneficial owners. The disclosure requirements will apply to all parties who fundamentally own and control land. A portion of the information collected will be made publicly searchable through the Land Title and Survey Authority, which is the current authority that administers the BC Land Title System. Upon application to register an interest in land, a transferee is required to file a transparency declaration, which discloses whether or not the transferee is a reporting body. And these reporting bodies include relevant corporations, trustees of relevant trust, and partners of a relevant partnership, which currently own or buy land. On a federal level, the object of the Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act is to detect, and its regulations, is to detect and deter money laundering and terrorism financing. The risk-based approach requires reporting entities to conduct assessments of their exposure to money laundering and terrorism financing risk. Currently, the PCML-TFA and its regulations only require financial entities, securities dealers, money services businesses, and life insurance companies to ascertain beneficial ownership of their customers. There are new regulations which will require certain designated and non-financial businesses and professions to obtain and take reasonable measures to verify the accuracy of beneficial ownership information on customers who are entities. These entities include corporations, trusts, charitable organizations, among other ones. And they're required to keep records of this information and the measures that they've taken. Some of these regulations entered into force as recently as this past May, and others are not yet in force, but will be coming into force in the coming years. Now, in addition to BC and Canada's extremely stable political and financial environment, BC is an incredible province and Canada is an incredible country. Among its many accolades, the UN Human Development Index consistently ranks Canada as one of the best countries to live in, and the US News and World Report of the best countries in 2019 ranked Canada #1 in terms of quality of life. We also have 3 cities that rank consistently among the top 10 to live in across the country, being Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto. In BC, we also have excellent healthcare services. Once you're enrolled in the BC Medical Services Plan, you and your family have access to excellent healthcare services. People in BC earn competitive wages and enjoy a very high standard of living. As previously mentioned, BC is home to many different cultures. This creates a diverse and vibrant society that welcomes students, visitors, and new British Columbians from all over the world. British Columbia is the most ethnically diverse province in Canada. Almost 30% of British Columbians immigrated to BC from another country, and just under 1/4 of the people in British Columbia are a visible minority. And when you move to BC, you can continue practicing your religious beliefs and cultural traditions. As a member of an ethnically diverse community, you can also experience the many different cultural heritages of other people from around the world. BC is also home to a large range of different opportunities and industries, including agriculture, construction, forestry, health, manufacturing, and technology. Further, there are very low crime rates in BC, and effective regulation makes BC one of the safest places to work and live. And finally, there are excellent education opportunities. The University of British Columbia and Simon Fraser universities are world-renowned institutions. UBC is a global center for teaching, learning, and research, and is consistently ranked among the top 20 public universities in the world, and is recently recognized as North America's most international university.
So I just would like to touch on the circumstance that arises when a foreign investor has emigrated to British Columbia or elsewhere in Canada. He or she will find a legal system that allows him or her to plan effectively in order to control their wealth and to manage it. And that's not just through estate planning tools such as wills and trusts, but it's also through a consideration of whether to make inter vivos gifts and how to optimize tax advantages that do present themselves. Many of our clients, when they emigrate, incorporate and hold their businesses through a corporate structure, which is always advisable. But one of the issues that I see often in my practice is that there are differences and disputes that arise from people's expectations of how things are to unfold, especially when it's dealing with family businesses. And so to deal with that circumstance, we recommend that foreign investors, once they've incorporated, they enter into a robust shareholders agreement, which clearly defines the rights and expectations of each share class, what each shareholder may expect from the operation going forward, and how disputes are to be resolved and regulated in the future. And that's one thing that often gets overlooked. So dealing with a shareholder agreement, not only can you ascertain who gets to vote to manage the business, but you can also determine how dividends are to be distributed and what rights will attach upon a liquidation. So in terms of a takeaway, there are a multitude of different legal means for investors to effectively manage and protect their wealth once they migrate to Canada. They will find that Canada is a welcoming jurisdiction for not only immigration, but for foreign investment. They will find a friendly business environment with a strong and robust legal system, and that there are effective legal structures in place on how companies can regulate the investments that they make. Now, changes are coming into force dealing with ownership transparency, and this is something that does set British Columbia apart from other jurisdictions, but I think that is something that is going to come to the forefront generally. So with that in mind, I'm open to take any questions that may have arisen.
Hey, Ron, how are you doing the questions?
Oh, I need to unmute myself. Thanks, Robert, for the reminder. I believe we had a great run into the Canadian investment opportunities. Thank you, Kia, and thank you, Julian, for presenting. Of the questions, and I just have a little technical problem here, of the questions presented, I just welcome the opportunity again or I would like to suggest for everybody to put the questions in the Q&A session if there are some. I also have received a couple of questions through text messaging, and I see one question coming up here. Sorry, Robert, do you see the first question? Because I right now don't see it anymore.
Yeah, I could do it. 1 second. All right, so the first question is, who is considered a significant individual for the purpose of the Corporate Transparency Registry?
Yes, thank you for that question. There's no definitive set answer. The two corporate records that provide the most relevant information for determining who a significant individual is for a company is the company's Central Securities Register and the articles of the company, the foundational document. The legislation sets out the rules for who is defined as a significant individual, and this individual will be significant if they have a significant number of shares or a right to replace a majority of the directors. So this will really be determined by the number of shareholders, their rights in the company, and so there's no set number per se. It will really depend on the corporate structure of that company.
Thank you, Kia, for the answer. Another question I see is, are there any tax implications of buying property in Vancouver as an investment? And just if I may add, from my point of view, the question coming from the United States, where we see that tax rules are different from state to state. Maybe you can help us to understand how British Columbia may have a special impact on that as well. But the real question is, are there any tax implications on buying property in Vancouver?
Well, there are, and it arose as a political reaction to foreign investment that was seen or perceived to be driving up home prices in British Columbia, especially in the Lower Mainland. And so two measures have been brought into effect dealing with Vancouver in particular. There's an empty homes tax, where if foreign investors buy homes in British Columbia or strata condos that aren't occupied, they will be subject to a 1% empty home tax, and that's 1% of the assessed taxable value of the property. That doesn't apply to homes that are rented out for at least 6 months a year. But it does require investors to sign a declaration and to monitor how they file each and every year. There's also additional property transfer tax, which is a 20% tax that's added to non-residents who purchase homes in Metro Vancouver. So that can be an owner's obligation. It doesn't apply to permanent residents, so that is one way to overcome that. But it is specific to the Lower Mainland, and it is a reaction to ascending property values within Vancouver and the Greater Vancouver area. And it's a reaction to just the incredible growth in home valuations. And you'll see other hot markets will have brought in similar measures, such as in Toronto. It won't apply to areas where the price increase hasn't been as significant as it has been in the Lower Mainland.
Okay, so thank you for answering with regard to the price. And I hear a story of an empty building tax. Is there any other tax implication if you want to see Vancouver properties as an investment?
In terms of taxation,
right.
There will be the normal tax levels that apply to everyone. So you'll still be assessed property taxes, you'll still be assessed your capital gains unless you've got a principal residence exemption to rely upon. There's some discussion about whether or not the principal residence, the capital gains exemption will survive or not, given the deficits encountered by the COVID pandemic. But other than those two specific taxes, all the other ones are common to all Canadian homeowners and all Canadian residents.
Perfect, thank you, Julian. The next question I see is, what is one way a shareholder agreement can be structured in Canada to help with wealth preservation?
Thank you for the question. We see that in the case of foreign nationals who are transferring or a portion of their wealth over to Canada and who wish to control the assets that they acquire. So they can do that through trusts. Another way would be to incorporate, and you can have a multi-class sharehold structure where you have rights and restrictions to attach to each separate share class. And to define expectations going forward, what you would do would be to draft a shareholders agreement that sets out the expectations that each shareholder can reasonably have. It's an agreement that would be entered into with all the shareholders of the company and would manage the company's affairs going forward. So what you would do is that you would stipulate which shares have which ownership voting rights, for example, which have redemption rights or which have greater rights on liquidation. By controlling how shares may be voted, you can restrict who can operate the business, and that's one way of dealing with the issue.
Beautiful. Thank you, Julian, for clarifying that. And I would, just from another question I see here, I realize that business climate differs from Canadian provinces. Can you explain the legal background differentiating the provinces?
So Canada is a federal system, and it's a bit of a historical anomaly in the sense that I think the original Canadian Constitution was drafted with a view of what had happened in America after the Civil War. So there is a federal regime that operates in a complementary manner with provincial jurisdiction. Provinces have jurisdiction over some matters, whereas the feds have a jurisdiction over others. You will see a federal tax system that's imposed upon all the provinces, except there is independent variety for each province to impose their own. The feds provide tax points to each province, which allows each province to tailor their own tax regimes to make one more attractive than the other, and you will see that on a province-by-province basis. There are, in addition to differing tax codes, there are certain differences that each Canadian province will have. There are linguistic differences and legal differences in the legal system when one looks at Quebec as opposed to the rest of Canada. But you will see that on a provincial basis, there is a fair degree of flexibility that each province uses to attract investment to their particular jurisdiction.
Great.
And it will be expressed through tax credits and other provincial programs.
Perfect, Julian. Thank you, Kia. Thank you, Julian. I think it's now time to wrap up our final round, and the 2020 Bridge Alliance Summit is coming to the conclusion. Thank you for all the speakers so far, but do not click off at this time because we want to have a final round where all panelists can together share their thoughts and minds. So with that said, nobody better than Bridge House owns Kristen Whalen, the managing partner of Bridge House Law United States, is taken over now. Kristen is not only a smart lawyer, but also a global traveler and international experience with life experiences as far away as Austria and Germany. So Kristen, the floor is all yours, and I put myself now in the role as the person subjected to questions. Looking forward for that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you all to all the panelists and presenters who participated at this point. I just wanted to give everyone the opportunity, now that we've gotten to hear about different options from all different countries, what your thoughts and takeaways were with regard to how your country's systems and options differ from one of the other countries that were presented on. So Stefan, you're first on my screen as I look across. So if I could go to you, greetings. How would you compare what's available in the EU or in Germany specifically with as compared to other countries that we heard about, China, the US, Canada? I don't think I hear you.
Stefan, you're muted.
I was on mute, so
Yeah.
I have to unmute. Hi, Kristen.
Yeah.
You know what comes to my mind if I just think about it and wrap it up somewhere in the back of my mind. What I think is interesting is how good the rules are in the traditional immigration countries, so like the US and Canada, like this EB5 program, how it's very well organized, it's perfectly structured. You have very good, you have strict rules. You stick to the rules or you do not stick to the rules. You meet the conditions, then you're in. Even you have a number of EB5 visas that they give out, and when it's done for the year, it's done. So they are very experienced in this. And good old Europe, who always think Europeans always think they are the best in everything, they don't have it at all. As you see, it's a patchwork. What I had in my presentation, because it's a patchwork of different rules. Sometimes you don't have rules at all. So if you look at Austria, for example, what is enough to invest in Austria? Nobody knows, and it's up to the government to decide it from case to case. So I think this is quite interesting to see how the different systems are set up, and that the Europeans are far behind in having kind of European rules for this. This is kind of a pity. I mean, they have the whole market. You can travel all over Europe, but it's so different. I think this is again astonishing to see. So this is what I took from it. Thanks again for having me on board. It was a pleasure to join these meetings. Thanks, Kristen, also for having the opportunity to talk first.
Thank you, Stefan. It's interesting, yeah, that it's more opaque, because I was looking to see, how can I come back to Austria and get some residency there? And there were no quick answers, unfortunately. So I guess I'll have to follow up with you.
We will try. We will have to go there and try.
Yes, let's do it. How about Lee? I know you spoke early this morning, or probably earlier this evening for you. Do you have any thoughts or takeaways? I know you had a little bit of a different topic, but with regard to China and some comparisons to the other countries?
Yes, because other countries like Europe, Germany, Canada, and the USA lawyers focus on introduce the immigration visa. But for us, my colleague, lawyer Zhu, focus on what is the family welfare and succession in China, how to protect their family welfare. It's a different point. But I think maybe some, how to say, the commute or same point between them, because how to protect their family. Maybe they will want to go to Canada, to USA, or to Europe to get a visa in these countries. Maybe it's a good choice for them, I think.
Yeah.
And tonight I think tonight, because now in Shanghai it's over 12 p.m. and now it's September 2nd day, but I'm so happy. But tonight for me is a brainstorm, hear a lot of topics, ideas, so happy and full of energy. I think, thank you.
Yes, thank you for staying awake, and I feel like we're talking to you in the future there tomorrow. So I appreciate you staying on so late with us. How about we go to Julian, comparing your system to in Canada, to the US, or to Europe and Germany, or maybe some thoughts we heard from China or even Saudi Arabia. Any comparisons, takeaways that you had?
Well, there was something that Stefan said that kind of twigged for me, where he said that Europe has a patchwork of different immigration rules, and of course Canada does as well, because of federal system, you will have various provinces with different nominee programs whereby they try to attract immigrant investors to their particular jurisdiction. Of course, you could apply to the nominee program of Quebec and still reside in British Columbia, for example, after in keeping with the requirements of the Quebecois program. So there's a certain flexibility that we have in Canada. And it's one of the things that I suppose I see as a takeaway is that when you look at the Canadian system, it's always been predicated on a healthy degree of immigration. So you've got rules and regulations that have been tailored for that. The federal government used to have a more elaborate program that dealt strictly for immigrant investors, and that's been retrenched, and that's in fact been eliminated. But you do still have a system that's flexible, and that once people are able to arrive in Canada, you'll have all of the characteristics of what one would expect in a common law system available to that investor. There is, I suppose, a certain pull towards America that is always present. But for those who don't have necessarily doubts about the American system, or who aren't reacting to the present political circumstances in America, Canada is always a stable alternative, and that's something that I think has stuck in my mind as we've gone through the presentations today.
Excellent, thank you. And Reinhard, obviously we also have a federal system here in the US, like Julian mentioned in Canada. Any thoughts to comparisons to the other systems that we saw?
I think, Stefan, you raised my intellectual curiosity about the aspect of how immigration countries versus non-immigration countries traditionally structure their law. And it's of course true, and thank you for bringing that up, that countries who are traditionally the countries where people are exiting make it different from those countries where traditionally people are entering. And if we take the exiting part of Europe and the entering part of the Americas, it makes sense that we have different rules here. And I feel, therefore, the American rules, and with that I mean now the US rules, are made in a way to have an immigration country. I remember years ago when I had a chance to be on a panel with folks from Mercedes-Benz with regard to their plant opening in Alabama. And there was the head of human resources who then shared the story how it was when Daimler Chrysler got integrated the other way around, and there are Chrysler folks entering into the Stuttgart market. And the story came up there that the Stuttgart market has, whatever many European countries have, the jurisdiction for those foreigners is located by the foreigners office. Or there is in certain European countries a special foreigners police, or somebody who's responsible to take care of those foreigners. Ausländeramt is one of those words which comes to my mind in German. And in the United States, the same authority is called immigration service. So here you have, just by terminology, an excluding word, whereas in one country you have an including word. And it's not about linguistics, it's about the thought behind. So in a way it's true, once you check the boxes, you are more likely to get in, and you're not subject to the feeling of a federal or state or local employee to say, I don't like this proposal, and therefore there's much more flexibility here. But taking this sentence from a philosophical point to a business point, the good news is that solidly made visa applications have a very high likelihood of approval. And that's, I think, the message out, even in today's Corona-driven immigration world where certain consulates are closed for months. And we are seeing right now visas being processed who got applied for in March, which is almost like a 6-month delay in visa processing just because of shutdown. Even though we see a slowdown in visa application right now, there is a principle behind, and I see that as an opportunity. When foreign investors would like to come to the United States, they can come here. A second note, because we have now our American-Canadian friendship here, Julian, the United States NAFTA 2.0 which is now no longer called NAFTA. It's now called, each country has a different acronym, and we in America call it USMCA for United States, Mexico, Canada. I believe in Canada it's called Canada, Mexico, USA, or whatever it is. So interesting how diverse the world is that we cannot even agree about an acronym anymore. But it's a good opportunity for people to be in one country. And what I like about the new NAFTA rules is that you are no longer required to have a residency or an operation in the other NAFTA country. So if you're coming from abroad, you look into the immigration system, you figure out Canada may be easier for this means than the United States is, or the other way around. You may see the United States is easier, but you still want to do business in Canada. It is not an either or. So what we have is within the NAFTA, former NAFTA market, Mexico, Canada, and United States, once you are incorporated in one country, you can operate in the other countries. And Stefan, from a European point of view, would appreciate that, what we call European Freizügigkeit. The ability to relocate businesses and enterprises, to relocate staff from one country to the other is something which we have in Europe. So in a way, I'm looking forward for this new NAFTA 2.0, the USMCA opportunity to venture from one country to the other. Kristen, back to you.
I guess the final question is if, you know, as I am so inspired to take advantage of these different opportunities to, you know, get my residency or be able to go live in a foreign country because I've inherited, you know, several $1 million and have that opportunity. What is your advice today to the participants as far as 3 things that they should do today to prepare for that journey and for that trip, or to start on down that road of seeking citizenship or residency in one of your countries where you're licensed? Let's start with Lee. Do you want to start? Oops. Is there a delay there? Or Lee, how about for your what would the best way to start for their family planning protocol in China with having the understanding about the different estate planning policies and procedures in China?
Okay, so you know, in this year's our China government issued the new civil code. Yeah, it's compared to the old laws, we issued too many new policies and new regulations to protect family welfare, and we will to provide more ways and strategies to give our Chinese citizens when they want to succession their family welfare, they have more ways to choice. Yes, that's very important in our topic, in our speakers speaking. And another way is another way. Last one I want to say is maybe in China now we need to do. We're still in some programs to how to protect our family welfare and people's private welfare will face some big challenges, but we'll how to stay step by step. Yeah, have a move forward to in futures and help more Chinese to have more family welfare right and family right in China. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So there's developing laws there. That's very good to know about. Back to Stefan. I just hit the lottery and I have you know, 2 million euros and I want to head back to go live in Germany. What are the 3 things I should do today to prepare for this journey and adventure?
Well, I would check my numbers. I would talk to my family, and I would check with my business partners. I think you know, you have a wide range. If you want to come to Europe, you have a wide range of opportunities, and it doesn't make any sense to make a decision where to go the only from the immigration point of view. So if you have already existing business in parts of Europe and the Spanish or Portugal part, you go there and then you try to go there. And also it's important that you ask your family, because if you're really serious about living there for a special period of time, also your family must be fine with it. And so it's not only immigration issues that are the decision, or that are important. It's the business and primarily the family issue that is important. This is my advice. And then play it from there. So make your decision, set your priorities business-wise and family-wise, and then play it from there and try how you can organize it.
Excellent, very good. I like the family first approach there. Get everyone on board, right? Happy wife, happy life. That's what my husband says. How about you, Julian? 3 things to do today if I want to pick up and move to Canada, which might not be that much of a stretch here.
My advice would be to seek professional advice from the outset. I think a lot of planning should go into the decision, and you would want to have your advisors on board right from the get-go if you're well-heeled enough to be able to afford that from the outset. I mean, we're not just dealing with immigration advice, you're also dealing with issues that concern the transfer of wealth, and there may be, depending upon which jurisdiction you're in, withholding taxes that you have to deal with. So I think where you should look at it in a global approach, and to deal with that, you want to get a team of advisors on your side right from the outset.
Very good. Excellent. Team of advisors. And of course, we have some well-versed attorneys here on this call, and then I'm sure we can point you in the direction of some nicely accredited accountants and tax advisors. Reinhardt, if anyone wants to come to the United States and is ready to start that journey, what would be your takeaways for today?
I mean, my takeaways are America is a great country, and it is a great country for centuries, where the dream was for centuries, go to America. And when I look at my family history, a little letter written by my great-grandfather who talked about people leaving the countryside and moving to the villages. And he said, the smart people leave the countryside to go to the villages, but the real smart move to America. And I think the ability to attract talent is something which is unbroken over time. The 3 takeaways I have is plan and prepare. With plan and prepare, it means look into what it really takes, and the decision I want to leave today is very easy to be done tomorrow because it takes time. So plan and prepare is number 2. The second part I have is to differentiate between where the real decisions are made in a business setting. In a business setting, we all believe the decisions are made in the boardroom, but I have heard the comparison being made that the decision is really made in the bedroom, and some who would call it the decision is made in the dining room, depending on how you phrase it. The decision means it's made where the family needs to be involved. It boils down to schooling opportunities for children. It boils down to job opportunities for spouses. Just because one spouse wants to relocate, it doesn't mean that there's a job for the other spouse. Let's take about the regulated market. Your spouse is a doctor and practices medicine. Can this person move to the United States? And the quick answer is complicated, because there are certain licensing requirements. So prepare also on the family level. And my third part is prepare for the unprepared, especially countries where things are so regulated and you can only imagine it in one way to be done. Prepare for that. When there is a left turn signal, you don't necessarily take a left turn, because in this country it's customary to do that. And what is true for the traffic situations in certain parts of the world is also true for how business is done. And if you do not have the flexibility to be ready for the differences, for the different ways of doing things, if you're not ready for accepting that in one part of the world people decide to drive on the left side of the road, and the other part of the world people drive on the right side of the road, for me it's indicative of a lack of mental openness to the world. And if you don't have the ability to be ready to drive literally on the wrong side of the road because it's right in that country, then you should stay where you are. But if you're ready to plan, prepare for the unprepared and get your family involved, you have opportunities not only in the United States, but also in Canada, China, Germany, or wherever it is, because people seem to like to migrate, and human history is full of migration, and we are in the 21st century, certainly in the middle of migration. Kristen, back to you.
Thank you, Reinhard. I don't see any more questions from our audience. I think we had a lot of participation earlier. So I wanted to say thank you for allowing me to come on the panel and help moderate this little closeout section. Of course, thank you to all of our panelists. And I believe, Reinhard, you're giving the closing remarks, so I'll kick it back over to you.
Great. And short of saying, thank you, Kristen. Thank you for everybody who contributed. Thank you also for the ones who are not here and who checked out earlier. Chu from China, Li Jing, please give her my best regards. It was a nice kickoff to learn about family and wealth succession in China. Thank you to Ali Al-Buridi to talk about wealth protection in the Arabian Peninsula. Thank you for Stefan Lode for the European Golden Visa. It's always good to hear how Europe does things. Thank you for Julian Dawson and Kia van der Loos about economic migration into Canada. It's also a good opportunity to say thank you for Dawn Colozzi for entertaining us with break music. And finally, thank you for Kristen for moderating the final moderation. Let's all take the things home which matters to us. And I think the family first concept raised by Stefan first resonates well with me. Let's take care of our families, take an earlier break now than initially was scheduled. And for all of the ones who are members of the Bridge Alliance, I'm looking forward for day 2 tomorrow. Let's tune in tomorrow again. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you, thank you. And my final thanks goes to Robert Spivey, who pushed this whole program, the whole presentation and the back end. He's blocked himself out on a muted camera, but thank you, Robert, for making it possible today. Without your hard work, we would have not had so much fun. With that said, have a great evening, have a great morning, whatever your time zone is. Liji, I think you're going to bed now, well deserved. All the best. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.